Go.
It's September 13th, 2024, and I'm with Mr. John J. Jeckovich and reading his book, Their Mother's Sons. It's actually Friday the 13th, and we're on page 17, and 17, page 492, and this is titled News of Renee's Tragic Death. News of Renee's tragic death. Mr. Jeckovich is a World War II veteran from Company H. Company H, 2nd Battalion, the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich received the Purple Heart and 2 Bronze Stars. Mr. Jeckovich, what is your dog tag number?
42965.
Great memory, great memory. Mr. Jeckovich is knocking on the door of 100 and he's in excellent shape. Here we go. We're going to start reading his book, News of Renee's Tragic Death. Mr. Jeckovich at this time is home in Niagara Falls, New York. And actually is at home at 3063 Orleans Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York.
Oh, boy, I bet that's a dopey place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked good at the time. It looked very nice at the time. It looked very nice at the time. How is it now?
I haven't seen it for years.
Or what have you heard about it?
It's dumpy.
Okay. Well, it served you well for 50 or 60 years. It served your mother well, too. She liked it. And so Mr. Jeckovich has the World War II behind him by a year and a half now. And he is working and taking care of his mother and his sister, younger sister, Sally, because his father is deceased at the age of 43. So I'll pick up on reading. And did you want to have any comments before of the news of Renee's tragic death?
No, go ahead.
Did you want to read a few pages?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. You're looking well today. You're looking well today.
Yeah, shape pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, is that razor working well for you?
Yeah.
Okay. This is docu-series 339, and we're filming today in the studio in an underground bunker, so that we don't have much lights. We brought in some lights, mostly generated power, but it's working. It seems to be working fine. Is it bright enough in here for you, Mr. Jeckovich?
What?
Is it bright enough in here for you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Do you feel?
I'm not going to read you.
But do you feel vibration?
From what?
On your feet, do you feel a vibration?
No.
Okay, because I think there's a train going overhead. I feel a vibration.
You felt a vibration?
Yeah, I feel a vibration. Okay. So I drifted with a job I abhorred in no way to extricate myself. And a home and social life is wretched with desolate state. I never related my inner thoughts and fears to anyone, primarily because there was no one to tell them to, and I could not reveal my inner concern to anyone. The bottom line that I had nothing going for me, and no one seemed to care. But the lottery was coming your way. The lottery was coming your way in a few months ahead. That's when you met Delphine Stulak, the love of your life, and you were married to her for 69 years.
Yeah.
So what was low is becoming very high shortly, and you did not know it yet. Mr. Jeckovich lives a very simple life, and he lives by the theory of yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift. Today is a gift. So here we go. All I heard at work from my fellow workers was bowling and shuffleboard, and other times football and basketball. Did you bowl?
No.
Did you do shuffleboard?
No.
I see. Did you do anything with their softball league?
No. I play baseball Neighborhood baseball.
And what position were you best at, Mr. Jeckovich?
What?
What position were you best at? What was your position when you played baseball?
First base.
First base. You did good at that?
Yeah.
When the Kimberly-Clark had a softball league, did you participate?
No.
Why not?
Yeah. Too many yahoos.
I see.
And they go out and drink.
Okay, so that was an excuse to go to the red spot after the game, and the more beers they drank, the better athletes they became, right?
Yeah.
The better athletes they became.
I don't know what to that now.
The regular Karl Yastrzemski's after 5 beers. Karl Yastrzemski's after 5 beers. All I heard at work from my fellow workers was bowling and shuffleboard, and at other times football and baseball. I was still being cajoled by the crew I worked with to go with them to the neighborhood tavern. What was the neighborhood tavern's name? The neighborhood
Red Spot.
Red Spot, okay. The Red Spot, a short distance from the mill. Here they would drink beer and play shuffleboard, in between talk about their days and events at work. In a way, I envied their contentment and perfect satisfaction with their lives, and with that, what they were doing. Didn't their wives get angry at them by going to the bar right after work?
They go to the bar.
But didn't their wives get angry that they're going to the bar?
I don't know about I don't know.
That doesn't seem like a good family man. It doesn't
They probably
seem.
got used to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, let's see where the hell we are here. Here they would drink beer and play shuffleboard, and between the talk of the day's events at work. In a way, I envy their contentment and the perfect satisfaction with their lives and which they were doing. I did not want any part of their life, so no matter how you could have been part of the system, part of the good old boys, you didn't want to spend all your time in a bar.
No.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I had my fill during the regular work day. Yeah, I understand. I had my fill during a regular work day. So you're working with these guys, and now you're spending your free time with them guzzling beer.
Yeah, you know, getting absorbed with them, yeah.
That's not a good way to go. Not a good way to go. I would meander home and listen to somewhat. How would you get home?
I walked. I never drove that car.
Okay.
I never see the Kimberly garage parking lot.
I'll be damned. I would meander home and listen to somewhat diversified tune, but pretty much the same texture. It was not the same substance. So you really enjoyed listening to Glenn Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
String of Pearls, yeah.
String of Pearls, yeah. Mother would go about her working too hard. Mother would go about working too hard and never had any time to herself. So when you got home, your mother would say, she doesn't have time to herself and she's working too hard.
What was she doing?
That's what your mother said, right? Okay, Mr. Jeckovich, would you like a water?
No, thanks.
Okay, Mother would go on about working too hard and never having any time to herself. She did crocheting, which she did wonderful crocheting.
Yeah.
It was really an art for a lady to crochet the finest thread type
Right in here.
crochets.
That's the rule. Man.
Okay.
Jan, close the door.
Okay. Were they coming in here?
No.
Huh?
Okay. So it was a great art that your mother would crochet, not just regular wool. She would be crocheting
Scones.
as small as thread and made beautiful Afghans.
Yeah.
Do you have your mother's Afghans?
No, where's all that stuff? Yeah, none of that stuff is anywhere. Somebody got that stuff and sold it out or whatever.
Who got the stuff?
I don't know.
Mother would go, okay, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, she did crocheting and would spend several hours at night sitting in her overstuffed chair. She had an overstuffed chair in the corner of their living room, right?
Yeah.
And would spend several hours a night sitting in an overstuffed chair in a small living room, crocheting and listening to the radio. She would listen to the Lux Radio Theater What's the Lux?
Lux was Lux soap. They had a cereal on Lux on the radio.
I don't think they got Lux anymore.
Lux?
I don't think Lux. I don't think they have Lux soap anymore.
I don't see it. I see Palmolive and everything, but I don't see Lux.
Which was one of her favorites, as was Grand Central Station. What was that?
Yeah.
What's Grand Central?
Grand Central Station was a cereal on radio too. They had the train coming up, they had the air brakes on. Grand Central Station.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wait, do that again. I'm trying to see how that would work.
Huh?
Do that again. How did that come up?
The train would come in. Grand Central Station.
Oh,
that was a cereal on radio.
I've never seen that. And another weekly program, of course, was Fibber, McGee, and Molly.
Fibber, and Molly, yeah.
Was that like a comedy show?
Yeah.
Did your mother like comedy?
Nah, up to a point.
Okay. And did your sister sit with her listening to the radio?
Well, let's see, how old would Sally be then?
Teenager?
Nah, she's fiddler all the time.
So did she sit there by herself listening to the radio?
My mother?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. When your father was alive, did he like listening to these stations too?
No. He'd be outside working, talking to the clown across the alley.
Okay, so your father had no time for this radio stuff. He was too busy working, right?
Huh?
He was too busy working, right? Yeah. Of course, there was Fibber, McGee, and Molly, which she enjoyed, as well as the Lights Out. What's the Lights Out?
Lights Out was a serial program too, like a mystery.
Okay.
Lights Out.
Yeah. You had no TV then, right?
No, it was all radio.
And there was always Orson Welles. What was Orson Welles famous for?
Orson Welles scared the hell out of everybody.
Why?
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, yeah. Was your mother excited about that?
Yeah.
Minutes?
17.
So were you worried about the War of the Worlds?
No, because I knew Orson Welles was acted up.
Okay, but your mother was taking it seriously, right?
Well, Delphine and I would go down and sit with her then.
Okay, she was worried, right?
Yeah.
Your mother was worried, and many tens of thousands of people were worried about the War of the Worlds.
Oh, yeah, Orson Welles scared the hell out of them.
Yeah. By 10 p.m., she was ready for bed. After she retired, I'd read or listen to the radio, turned down low. By midnight, I would call it a day and start all over again the next day. I did not like my drab and dull existence, but I could see no way out, much less looking forward to something of the unforeseen happening, which would change the course of my entire life, which it did happen. It did happen. It did change your life when Delphine Stulac came in it.
Oh, yeah. Delphine, Rosalie, and Agnes.
And the reason why you couldn't change your life at this time, because there was no one to care for your mother, correct?
Yeah.
That was the main topic, right?
Yeah.
Like the book says, their mothers, sons, in plural.
Yeah, that's the memorial to my mother, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Which would change the course of my entire life. Unforeseen happening.
And when Delphine came along, she fit right over with my mother. My mother loved her.
So, as you thought about your previous girlfriends, which was Renee, Ann, and Jean, you wouldn't bring her home because your mother would not accept those three. But when Delphine came in, it was like two peas in a pod. Yeah. 2 peas in a pod. They got along.
That was the best thing for my mother.
They go shopping together.
Yeah. Then I taught Delphine how to drive. My mother grabbed her for everything.
So you taught your wife to drive, and then she was able to chauffeur your mother all over.
Yeah.
And what kind of stores would they go to?
Well, mostly they went to Buffalo. They got caught in a couple of snowstorms and put all the stuff on top of the car.
What do you mean on top of the car?
Well, they went to a furniture store and bought a table or buy a chest or something, had the guy tie it down on the top of the car. I said, what the hell you guys in that thing home in the store, a summer store, winter store?
So when they got home, they had some type of kitchen table?
Yeah.
Tied on top of what kind of car?
Huh?
What kind of car?
That would be that station wagon. That green
I
one.
see. So who tied it? Your mother?
The guys at the store.
And then when they got it back to Niagara Falls, you had to cut it off the top of the car.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it full of snow?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Did they do that often, tie things on the top of the cars?
Well, and she didn't have any car carriers on top at all.
But was that common back then?
Oh, yeah.
Did they put a carpet on top of the roof, or did they just put it on?
No, they put a carpet or a piece of plastic or something.
Were you surprised when they got home with furniture on the roof?
Yeah, and they were late, too.
They're what?
They were late. They stopped over in Buffalo for coffee and everything else.
So your mother was having a great time with Delphine.
Oh, yeah.
What a beautiful relationship. What a beautiful relationship. So you won the lottery. You got a nice wife. You got nice women. You got someone to help care for your mother. And you got someone to take the burden off of you, and your wife would drive your mother around instead of you all the time.
Yeah.
So that was a win-win. That was a win-win. And then besides that, you told me you had your mother teach Delphine on how to cook.
Yeah, I told her, I said, Mom, get a hold of Delphine. Teach her how to cook. She can't cook worth a house. She's killing me. Now, the poor kid couldn't
Did you say she's killing you?
Huh?
Did you actually tell your mother she was killing you?
Oh, yeah. I said, she can't cook. Well, she learned fast, though. She learned fast. She was doing all the Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff.
But she couldn't cook one thing
Before.
when you married her?
Well, she could cook breakfast or fried egg or toast to make a toast, but she couldn't put anything like a roast in the oven or anything.
So your wife's sisters and your wife's mother didn't give them experience of cooking.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't teach you cooking.
No.
Okay. So it was up to your mother to teach you. Well, that was great.
Well, Delphine was she was the top gun in her house. It was that stupid, the older sister.
Cecile.
Yeah, Cecile, because she worked in Washington and everybody, so
Okay.
she was hooked up with the president of the United States.
Okay. All right. I understand.
That which is all nonsense.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Where the hell I left off. Okay. It's not going to happen. It gradually sank into the depths of my mind that this would be my life. From here on in, I did not like it, but it appeared that I was stuck with it. Minutes?
12.
Okay. Did you say a train?
Yeah.
No? Okay. During this period of the snappish irritability, I thought of Renee and how her life was ended, and she had no one to support her in those final days. Yet Renee, French resistance, was killed by the Nazis, and her parents, her mother and father, were young people. They were killed by the Nazis, and her two brothers were young people also, and they were killed by the Nazis. So Renee, when she got killed by the Nazis, she was alone.
Yeah.
She was impossibly tortured by the SS because they're brutal people and they hated nuns. They hated Roman Catholic nuns. I thought of Renee, how her life was ended and she had no one to support in those final days. Her love of mankind was certainly put to the test those last few days, and I'm confident she withstood that critical ordeal. Her staunch spirit and great fortitude sustained her throughout its worst moments, and I'm sure her faith, which she was Roman Catholic, practicing Roman Catholic, was her saving grace. I only wish that she had corresponded during these tragic times, and I had something more lasting to look back on instead of my fleeting memories. I still did not tell anyone about Renee, as I did not want to share her with anyone in my immediate environment. I was not until I married that I could finally relate my time with Renee to a person I felt would sense the depth of my devotion to her. It was spontaneous and natural occurrence that afforded me much permission to do so. I finally did not see myself as the one who drove her to the ultimate decision of seeking religious refuge and ultimately to Indochina. Was chosen the path, who is to say that it had not been as destructive as Vietnam? I was justified in not bringing her into my world, and for that we would have been catastrophe. I was to realize all this more intently and clearly perspective when I finally met someone comparable to Renee. So who was comparable to Renee?
Yeah, well, Delphine.
Delphine Stulac,
Yeah.
right. And your world changed, Mr. Jeckovich was married to Delphine Stulac for 69 years. 69 years. Delphine Stulac Jeckovich passed away August 14th, 2020. Minutes, please.
9.
In the interim, the months were fleeing by, and I had no definite objective in mind. Work had not become more bearable, and the situation at home was as before. So your mother never really changed. She always
No.
kept pushing, right?
Yeah,
Even when she was in her late 80s, did she
Oh,
change?
yeah.
Did she change?
Yeah.
Did she become a little bit softer?
no, it's a little feisty.
Right to the bitter end.
Yeah,
She took it to the bitter end, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. The only thing that, feisty, I like that. The only thing that made it tolerable was the fact that I met Rose as I was walking home from the midnight shift. Who the hell's Rose? I don't remember Rose.
Rose was a woman that worked at the office of Kimberly.
Okay.
Now, when I worked midnights, I walked down Packard Road, and she would come down that dirt road called all of Royal Avenue to go to work. And we would stop and talk.
And what kind of lady was Rose?
Rose was a nice lady.
Was she older or younger than you?
No, she was probably 2 years older. But she didn't want to hook up. She said, my father was a mill hand. I don't want to be a mill hand either. My mother was a mill hand.
Okay, so her mother worked at Kimberly.
No, her mother didn't work at Kimberly. No, the father works at Kimberly.
Okay, her father, and she didn't want to meet someone that worked at Kimberly.
She didn't want to be a millwife, like my mother did.
All right, I'm understanding that now. So Rose was did she work in the factory or was she in the office?
She worked in the office. Rose Kamensky.
As we talked about the other day, how your brother Steve and your father loved Packards, is there any relationship to Packard Road and the actual Packard car?
Relation between what?
Packard Road, you said. Was Packard Road named after the Packard car, do you know?
Yeah, well, Packard went out of business.
Yeah, Packard went out of business in 1940, was the last car produced, and Packard was made in that area, but I'm wondering that street that you mentioned, was that named after the Packard automobile?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's a very interesting point about Packards. They stand the test of time. They have cast iron engines. For example, Enzo Ferrari, who was in his formative years in the early 50s, he desired the 12-cylinder motors that Packard had into them. And what it basically was 2 cylinders side by side. And for many years, from the 60s to the late 90s, Enzo Ferrari had that same design that he got from the idea of Packard.
Yeah.
Even though Enzo Ferrari died in 1989, right up to his death, he was taking the same concept that Packard did, and most of their cars, 12 cylinders, which is 2 6-cylinders, side by side. But later, Ferrari was bought out, and it's all high-tech stuff. It's nothing like the cars of the 60s and 70s, that's for sure.
5 minutes.
Okay. The only thing that made it tolerable was the fact that I met Rose. Was Rose older or younger than you?
She was probably 2 years older.
Okay. I was walking home from the midnight shift, and she would be coming down a gravel road from Royal Avenue on her way to work in the office at the mill, and we had talked a few minutes before she had to be at work.
Yeah, well, we could never connect because she didn't want to be a millwife.
I see.
She didn't want to be a millwife. She didn't want to be like her father.
I see.
And she says, you don't belong in there. Why don't you go to school and do something? She said, you're a pain.
Yeah.
She told me, she said, why are you working here? I see those people that work. They're screwballs.
Yeah.
But she would bowling with them, and she would football games with them and everything.
Okay. But she's seen a great deal into you that you shouldn't be working there. You're not like the rest of the guys
Yeah.
in the factory. Well, and she told you
She
that.
said, well, you're different. You're not like the rest of them, she says. And people notice that you're different. I said, well, how am I different? She said, well, if you don't know, you're stupid.
So she told you that straight out.
Yeah, well, she didn't want to be, we knew that was a loose cost. She would marry Mill Willie.
Okay.
She didn't want to be a mill wife.
I like that lady, how forward she was. She speaks what's on her mind. Very nice, very nice. At first she was reluctant to stay longer than a few minutes, but after a few days we would talk about books we both read and the movies we had seen. Together, by the end of the midnight shift, we were chatting like old friends. I knew she enjoyed our conversations as she was meeting me earlier than she would normally
Yeah,
meet.
but there was always a resistance on her part because she didn't want to get involved with me because she didn't want to be a mill wife. She didn't want to be like her father or her mother.
So that was a holdback, right?
Yeah, and she got the attitude, that loose attitude, yeah.
So that was it. She didn't want to get involved with someone that worked at
And
the
then
factory.
we go out. She said, "Well, what do you do working there for? I know the people that work there. You don't belong there. What the hell are you doing there?" She said, I think you're stupid. She had an aggressive attitude too.
But in many ways, she was complimenting you.
Yeah.
She would say, you're not like these guys going to the red spot or playing shuffleboard or bowling. And
Well, she was a scheduler at work, and she made all those people at work, and she knows what they were like and what I was like. And she said, but when I go in there, I know what I'm looking for. To look at the typical millhead boy, man. And he said, you don't fit that picture.
so the way she was complimenting you, she said you didn't belong in Kimberly-Clark. You're not like the rest of these guys.
She says, that's always on her mind. She said, why don't you get out of there and go to school? I couldn't go to school because my father passed away. My mother would be alone.
You did have the GI Bill, right?
Yeah,
so the money
16,
wasn't
yeah.
the problem, but you couldn't leave your mother alone.
I was hooked up with a liberal arts college and Bowdoin College in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow. That was a long way from your house.
Well, then that's another thing. I never be home and I want to be alone.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
Well, you did the right thing. You did the right thing, Mr. Jeckovich. So what finally happened to Rose? Tell us about what some of the dates you had and what happened to Rose.
Rose, we went on dates with that. We went to coffee and all that stuff. Rose, Agnes, and there were three: Rose, Agnes, and Delphine. And they would go to coffee and that. But after a while, I got worn out.
It took its course.
Yeah.
And then what finally happened to Rose?
Rose, she got disgusted and married a guy in the office at Kimberly, and she married him and they went to Wisconsin.
But was it, he was an office worker now.
She worked in the office, and this guy was an office worker too.
So he wasn't considered a factory worker.
No.
And so tell me what happened.
Well, she hooked up with him, they got married, and she went to Wisconsin.
And that's the last you
That's
see?
the last I heard of her, yeah.
30 seconds.
I see. Did you know the guy she left with?
Well, I seen him around the middle of that, but,
What kind of guy was he?
well, he wasn't a millhead.
Was he military?
No.
How could he not be military
Huh?
when everyone was military at that time?
Well, that one that was there, that he was a Marine, a little short guy, and he had a crush on that